Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike Allan. As always, I'm joined by
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
Why don't you tell us what mysterious comic book we are reviewing this week?
Well, Michael, last week you picked a Normal Man from Aardvark Vanaheim.
Right? Yep.
So I said, hey, we'll stick with there. And now this week we're going to go Ms. Tree from Aardvark Vanaheim.
So are we going to only do Aardvark Vanaheim books from now on?
I think so, yeah. It's going to be the new gimmick for the show.
Yep.
But Ms. Tree, MS period, space, T-R-E-E. Ms. Tree. She's a hard-boiled private detective, and I first encountered this character when I was doing research for our episode about Dakota North.
Right.
Because people say Marvel just ripped off Ms. Tree with Dakota North like a female private eye.
Right.
Do you remember that iconic Dakota North ad where it says style and it shows her holding the gun? Well, in response, the Ms. Tree folks, they put out an ad that showed Ms. Tree and it said substance.
That's
so
cool.
I think that's a pretty good little thing. But yeah, Ms. Tree. I'm a big fan of the hard-boiled private eyes and mysteries and whatnot. So I'm very excited about this, Michael. Mm-hmm. Now, did you seem to not have much of experience with Ms. Tree when I brought her up last week?
No, not at all. I mean, I've only heard her name.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I was going to point out is I technically have read other comics by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty.
Oh, we'll go with Beatty. Is it Beatty?
Beatty? Yeah, I guess you're right. Like Warren Beatty. You're right. Yeah. Terry Beatty. But anyway, yeah, so Wild Dog. I've read Wild Dog. So.
Yes, because I never heard of that, and I encountered that when I was researching the creators here. But as you mentioned, yes, Ms. Tree was created by Max Allan Collins, and he is the writer, and Terry Beatty is the artist. Maybe we'll talk about them later on after we get through the book. And but this Ms. Tree, her real name is Michael. Well, her original name is Michael Friday. Mm-hmm. That's her name. And that's right, her first name is Michael, just like me.
Yes, and me.
That's right. I forgot what your name was.
Yeah.
But then she got married to a fella who was named Mike Tree. Mm-hmm. So they were both named Michael Tree.
Yes,
husband and
bizarre.
wife. That's odd.
Very odd, yes.
So this Mike Tree and his new bride, Michael Tree, they go off on their honeymoon, and Mike Tree gets murdered.
Right.
So then Michael Tree, the lady, she has to solve the murder of her dead husband, and then she takes over his private eye business as well. I guess she was like working with him in the private eye business. So when then he dies, she just takes it over. And her first appearance was in Eclipse Magazine, issue 1, 1981. I'm sure you have all of those at home.
I do not, no.
Yeah, it was a black and white anthology, like magazine-sized magazine. Yeah, that's why they called it a magazine. And she was created by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty. And Ms. Tree is the longest-running private eye comic in history.
Wow, really?
That sounds like a really awesome accomplishment, but then when you think about it, like how many other private eye comics are there?
There's not too many other ones, yeah.
Dakota North lasted 4 issues or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not too many more. So Collins says that Ms. Tree was inspired by Velda, Mike Hammer's secretary. And I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Hammer. Did you ever watch those TV shows or movies?
I have read I, the Jury, but that's it. Yep.
Yeah, Mickey Spillane, right? Mike Hammer.
Yes.
And there's a TV show back in the day with, I'm blanking on the guy's name now, but, Mike Hammer.
Was it good?
I watched it a lot, yeah. But his secretary is Velda, I'm sorry. And she was 6-foot-tall brunette and stacked, and she carried a gun.
Really?
That's what you like in a lady.
Pretty cool.
And but people said she was even tougher than Mike Hammer. So the basic premise of Miss Tree was, what if Velda and Mike Hammer eventually got married, and on their honeymoon, he was murdered? Mm-hmm. So that's what inspired this idea. And apparently he just came up, he cooked up this idea on the phone with the publisher who called him and said, hey, we want you to do, got any ideas? And he said, yeah, how about this? And he just came up with it.
Very cool.
Ms. Tree, like I mentioned, she appeared in the first 6 issues of Eclipse Magazine. And then she got her own series in 1982. The first 3 issues of that were called Ms. Tree's Thrilling Detective Adventures. And then the title was shortened to Ms. Tree with issue 4. That series moved from Eclipse to Aardvark Vanaheim with issue 10. Mm-hmm. And this also, issue 10 is also when they started doing the 3-color printing, which we will be discussing in this book because I fucking love this, Michael. I was I was a big fan of the way this book was colored.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, for sure.
We'll get into it. And then Aardvark Vanaheim, as we talked about last week, Dave Sim and his wife ran Aardvark Vanaheim. They got divorced and separated. So then Aardvark Vanaheim and Renegade Press, which was the publisher that Dave Sim's wife started, they co-published issues 16 through 18. And then Renegade Press took over solo publishing the book through issues 19 through 50.
Nice.
And then they also did 3 special issues, but that's where it ended with issue 50, and the run lasted until 1989.
Amazing.
Making
Very
it
cool.
the longest-running detective comic in history.
Yep.
So
I
then,
guess
Michael,
they don't count Batman, right?
Well, I guess. Yeah, that's true. But as a superhero. But anyway.
That's different, yeah.
In 1990, DC started publishing Ms. Tree Quarterly, which ran for 10 issues until 1993. Though I think the last 2 were just called Ms. Tree Specials. But so look at DC picking up the ball there and running with it.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
So good on you, DC. I usually hate you, but I like you in this instance. And then 2007, Max Allan Collins wrote a novel called Deadly Beloved, published by Hard Case Crime, which was a Ms. Tree novel.
Very cool.
Try that out. So there you go. That's the Ms. Tree backstory.
So there's never been a Ms. Tree TV show or anything?
There was. He had a deal. Do you remember that TV show Life Goes On? With like Corky?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Well, the guy that made that for ABC, he had a deal, and he had a deal for another series or something, and then so he cut it. Max Allan Collins made a deal with him because that guy really liked Ms. Tree, so they were going to do a Ms. Tree TV show. They did the script, they did everything, but that guy was going to change it a little bit. The character, instead of Ms. Tree being set in Chicago, it was going to be out west, and the character was going to be called Cassidy Tree instead of Michael Tree. But Max Allan Collins said he actually liked the script.
Okay.
And it was even more, had more sex and violence than even he wrote. So he's like, oh, that's pretty impressive. But ABC did not pick it up.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's as close as Miss Tree came to getting a TV show or something. But yeah, she's a great character, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if you can see definitely not only Dakota North, but like Jessica Jones is clearly influenced
100%,
by this.
Yep.
And there's hey, did you ever read that Stumptown?
No.
Stumptown?
No. What's that?
I think it's another Lady Private Eye. Because I watched it. It was a TV show there for a while, and I watched an episode. I enjoyed it. Who was that girl from the Avengers? Is it Kobe Smulders? Is that her name? Kobe Smulders?
I'm looking it up right now. This is a newer show?
Yeah, it was on about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I guess pre-pandemic.
She's in the Avengers.
Yeah, she played an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yes, I see who you mean. Okay, yeah, what's her name here? I'm looking at the cast. Where is it? Oh, yeah, Kobe Smulders.
Yeah, I like her. And I watched that episode. That was pretty good. So I think that is also a comic book-inspired show, right? Stumptown, right?
Is it?
I think so.
Stumptown, huh?
You're Mr. Comic Book. I thought you would notice.
Well, let's see here. The premise. It doesn't say anything about a comic book.
This is the part of the show where we Google things.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive it came from a comic book. Otherwise, we can just cut all this out and post.
Yeah, there you go.
Stumptown comic. Yeah. Just Google that up. Stumptown comic versus show. What is better?
It doesn't exist.
5 things the TV show changed from the comics. Yeah, so apparently it was a comic book. So there you go. So, but anyway, the point is, all these, they all owe a debt to Ms. Tree.
Yes.
So
I love 80s independent comics. It was a good time.
I have no experience with any of them, but I have another one in the holster I think I'm going to pick here soon.
Oh,
so
nice.
Try that. Well,
also, don't forget about Normal Man, but anyway.
Yeah, I try. But let's just talk about the creators here while we're here anyway.
Sure.
Max Allan Collins, born in 1948 in Muscatine, Iowa.
Okay.
I'm just proud of myself that I know how to say Muscatine, Iowa. He took over the Dick Tracy comic strip from creator Chester Gould in 1977.
Nice.
How about that?
Yeah.
Writing Dick Tracy. Did you know
Good
that?
job. Yeah, I kind of knew that. Yep.
Oh, look at you. Mystery. Doesn't know Stumptown, but he knows Dick Tracy. All right. Mike L., he wrote Batman issues 402, 403, 408 to 412, and Annual 11 between 1986 and 87. So,
And you, of course, know I have those all in my collection,
I
right?
would hope so. Do you remember
they're great.
anything about those stories?
It's been a while, but I remember thinking they were good. Definitely.
I think I read something like he kind of gave a new background to or a backstory to Jason Todd. Does that sound right? Or
Was that him? Which issues did he do? 40 what?
402, 403, and then 408 to 412.
Oh, yeah. He would have written Jason Todd's second origin where he steals the hubcaps off the Batmobile, and
Nice.
and that's how Batman meets him. And then he ends up becoming the new Robin because of that. Because the original Jason Todd origin was exactly like Dick Grayson. His parents were murdered at a circus. There was no difference. So, yeah, it was ridiculous. So Max Allan Collins rebooted his origin. Made it much better.
All right, then he did Wild Dog 1 through 4 in 1987. And I had never heard of Wild Dog before in my life, and I looked him up, and apparently, from what I could tell just by the pictures, it looks like a vigilante hero who wears a hockey mask. And
Yeah, kind of weird costume, eh?
yeah. Did you read that at all?
Yeah, I read a couple. They were good.
All right. And then probably most famously in 1998, he did Road to Perdition,
Right.
which was then made into a movie
Yep.
with, who was that?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Have you seen that?
Nah, I never saw it.
It's pretty good. It doesn't really click for me, but it was pretty good.
Is it about like gangsters and stuff?
Yeah, mafia kind of. Yeah, crime.
He's also written like a million books, this guy. Holy hell, is this guy prolific. He's had
That's
like
good.
several successful mystery series, including one he writes with his wife. And he also did a bunch of novelizations of TV shows and movies. Like I remember he did 2 NYPD Blue novels. I feel like NYPD
Really?
Blue. Yeah. Sipowicz, you know?
Okay.
But yeah, this guy, he's written a ton of books. Very impressive. All right, so that's Max Allan Collins. Then Terry Beatty, he was born in 1958 in Muscatine, Iowa. That's right.
Okay.
They're both from Muscatine, Iowa.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Apparently, Terry Beatty was the son of one of Max Allan Collins' favorite teachers, so that's how they met. And there's a 10-year age gap there, but like he kind of took him on as like a little brother in a way, you know? And
Sure.
So he started palling around, and then when Max Allan Collins was looking to do some stuff in comic book world, Terry wanted to be an artist, so they started working together. And he has 55 penciling credits at DC, including Action Comics, Wild Dog, and some Batman titles.
Really?
They're kind of
Okay.
like obscure Batman titles, like
Like,
you know, not the main ones, I guess.
I'll look it up.
But he also has 206 inking credits, mainly Batman Adventures, like that animated style book.
Yeah,
I
I'm looking
guess.
at that right now. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Then from 2012 to 2017, he drew the Phantom daily comic strip,
Really?
the old Phantom. And then he started drawing the Rex Morgan MD comic strip in 2013, and he took over the writing duties of it as well in 2016. I didn't know comic strips were still a thing. They still print them?
Well, of course, but I mean, I don't know if you get a newspaper, but
No.
I'm used to like I
Who
don't,
does?
my parents do, but I know that like they still have obviously like the funny ones, but I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, Rex Morgan MD.
Yeah, like Rex Morgan and Dick Tracy and all that. Like I have never ever seen a paper that has those comic strips.
Yeah, so that's what he's been doing lately. But, so there you go. So when we're reading this book here, he would have been like 25-ish or so.
Wow.
When
Okay.
he was doing this, 26-ish, somewhere around there. All right, so there's the backstory here. Anything else about Terry Beatty? Do you remember any of his DC work at all?
I mean, yeah, I read Wild Dog. I always thought it was, a little, what's the word? A little bit plain, a little bit stiff, but I always thought
Yeah.
it was fine,
It's very old school, kind of like you'd see 50s romance comics or something, that kind of
Definitely.
style of art,
Right. Definitely 50s, yep.
And we'll talk about it more, but I like it here from Ms. Tree. I thought it was I really liked what he did here. So, all right, so let's get into the book. Ms. Tree, I mentioned last week on the show, it has one of the coolest covers I've ever seen.
It's
and
pretty
I will
freaking cool.
stand by that.
Yep.
Describe the cover for the kids, Michael.
Well, okay, so, pardon me. So we have Aardvark Vanheim at the top, presents Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty's Ms. Tree. The logo is pretty plain. It's just like regular font. Ms. is kind of like, like handwritten. Got the number 13 in November, the price. But here's the thing. The cover is really cool. It is a picture of a woman holding a knife about to stab. And it's what you realize is that there's a hand in the foreground that's putting a puzzle piece down. And what you realize is that this is a puzzle, and the person's face in the puzzle is missing, and the hand is putting one of the pieces into the puzzle. And so the idea is that this is a great metaphor or analogy for what the story is of Ms. Tree trying to find the identity of the killer in the story. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, because this is the thing about Ms. Tree is she tackles a lot of controversial subject matter, and also the stories tend to span several issues. So this is the final part of a 4-issue arc about a slasher going around stabbing people.
Right.
So she's going to put the pieces together in this issue and solve it. And like you mentioned, you see the hand. Like Ms. Tree's famous for wearing a black coat and black leather gloves, or blue, dark blue, however you want to look at it. And but so when you recognize the hand with the blue, that's Ms. Tree's hand. If you're a reader,
right.
You know, oh, that's Ms. Tree putting the pieces together. And the background of the puzzle is all orange. And then the lady, this is John Romita Sr. Gwen Stacy, right? That's what this isn't. That just Gwen Stacy that they're drawing?
Yeah, blonde hair.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, I think. But just the pose of it's awesome. I love this cover. It's so good. My only complaint is the piece she's holding in her hand, it's colored wrong.
It's true. It doesn't match where it's supposed to go, and it kind of throws it off a little bit.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they colored in the blonde hair there on the piece where it fits. But whatever. Just say it's a trick of the lighting or whatever. But I love it. This is one of my favorite covers ever. No doubt.
It's good. Yep.
So Ms. Tree. Yeah, and you mentioned the Ms. is in a handwritten script, and then Tree, big, bold, strong letters.
Right.
And they're taller, almost like trees, the letters.
True. And then we also, I forgot to mention the title of the story is Jigsaw, and it says it right on the cover.
Yeah, we did mention this is issue 13, right? I don't know if I ever mentioned that.
I think it did. Yeah, 13.
We're doing issue 13. So here we go. Then we get a note from the publisher inside. And this is Denny Lubert.
Yep.
This was Dave Sims' ex-wife at this point. No, they're still married at this point, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But and she's talking about getting Ms. Tree and bringing it to Aardvark Vanheim. And there you go. That's some good stuff. Now, all right, let's get to the book. All right, Ms. Tree, 1984, Deadline, Chapter 7. Yeah, I thought it was only the fourth part. Apparently, it's Chapter 7.
Well, yeah, it's because each book has 2 chapters,
right?
Yeah,
good point.
So 7 and 8 are in this book, Yeah,
all right.
So so the title of this issue is actually Sex and the Singles Slasher, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. So we open up with a splash page, and Ms. Tree is talking to a woman named Ms. Craig. And we should probably talk about the colors right now because they're drawn in black and white with the standard comic book coloring of skin color and hair. But the background is all drawn in red ink. So what they're talking about is depicted in red ink, which is a little bit innovative for the time, right?
Yeah, and
unusual.
It'll sometimes change. Sometimes you'll get the skin tones in the hair, and then sometimes they'll just be all white. And so basically, the main colors you're getting here are black, white, and red. And that's it.
How did I not even notice that? The whole issue is like that. I didn't even notice.
Wow.
What the hell? So there's only really 2 colors. There's only black and red.
Yeah, kind of. But like we say, they do their skin tones. But I guess you can get that with a shade of red, pinking it up.
Yeah.
But there's a detective in here who's a black fella, and they get his skin tone correct as well. So, and then some of the hair is more brown and stuff. But for the most part, it's really just black, white, and red, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just noticed that.
No, I just, I didn't even pick up on that. It's so weird. I thought it was weird, but I didn't really investigate why.
I love it. I think it is so great. And if I always want to make a comic book, and I sure as hell don't want to color it, so I would do this. And I think this is awesome.
You know what's really weird is there was a brief phase in the late 90s around the year 99, 2000, where Batman, I think it was Detective Comics, did the same thing, except it was blue. So it was black, white, and blue, yeah.
Well, interesting you mentioned that because, like, when they came to Aardvark Vanheim, this was Collins and Beatty's idea. They wanted to do this, and Denny LeBaire said, yeah, let's do that. So usually it's red, white, and black. And then in the previous issue, issue 12, it was white, black, and blue.
Really?
So,
interesting.
Yeah, because they did it to get a different mood for that issue. But because I went back and read issue 1 of Ms. Tree's Daring Detective Adventures or whatever it was called, and that was a fully colored book.
Okay.
And I like it so much better like this. It is so cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it is cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Right. So basically, yeah, so we're in the middle of the scene. So again, we pointed out this is chapter 7. And so Ms. Tree has been investigating this basically serial killer, right?
Yeah, a slasher going around stabbing people. Yeah.
Right. And so she's investigating this. She's talking to this woman named Ms. Craig. And so she's warning this woman to go to see Lieutenant Valor in the police force and give the name of the 2 men who she thinks will be the single slashers next to victims.
Yeah, let's I'll give you some backstory here. This Craig, her name is Jen Craig, which is kind of weird because do you remember Jenny Craig, the weight loss guru from?
No.
Did you have that in Canada? All right, that was a thing here in the United States. But Jen Craig, she's a journalist, and she's been investigating this slasher case, and she thinks she knows the next 2 victims who are going to be, and she tells Ms. Tree here. But you notice they're also in bathrobes because at the end of the previous issue, someone tried to kill Ms. Tree. They were dressed like the lady suspect slasher, but it was actually a fella.
Okay.
And they're like, what's going on here? And so that's why they're in bathrobes, because Ms. Tree had to change her clothes and everything because she fell in a swimming pool and was fighting and stuff. But yeah, so this Jenny Craig is a reporter, and she's sitting on the case. She doesn't want to. She wants to get all the credit, for investigating this killer, and she doesn't want to take what she knows to the cops. And Ms. Tree's like, no, you take those names to the cops. Let's go. Let's figure this out.
Right. And so this is where we get it gets pretty heavy.
Yeah.
We get a flashback to a scene that Ms. Craig was part of where there was this group, there was basically this like bush party when they were in high school, right? It was high school or college?
I think they were graduating high school, most of these people who were involved here.
And basically, Ms. Craig is referring to, she calls it a horrible incident, but then Ms. Tree Correction says it was a gang rape, not an incident. So we see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 guys holding this girl. And it's not graphic, but it's very, like they make it clear in the story what happened, right?
Yeah, they're just walking her back into some bushes there. And,
right.
And they're all smiling and laughing and, yeah.
Right. And so Ms. Tree does not want Ms. Craig to tell the cop about this gang rape, right? And then...
yeah, did you say you're in school with them? They were all part of a high school clique or something like that. Yeah.
So she doesn't want her to tell her. So then Ms. Craig's like, well, what about the other names? Betty Lou Townsend, Linda Withers. And then Ms. Tree's like, keep them to yourself and leave my name out of it too. So,
yeah, I believe Betty Lou Townsend was the woman who was allegedly gang raped.
Okay.
And Ms. Withers is the wife of one of the guys who was murdered. Because the theory is that who is ever doing these killings is going around murdering all the men who took part in this gang rape.
Right.
That's what they just figured out here, like over the last issue and this issue. So.
Right. And so Betty Lou was the victim of the gang rape, and Ms. Tree's like, I want to talk to both women, so Betty Lou and Linda, before the police get to them. And then basically, then the Ms. Craig is worried about withholding evidence. And then Ms. Tree's like, well, you've been sitting on this information for months, building a story. So you've already been holding evidence, right? Or withholding evidence. So, and then Ms. Tree says, okay. So she says, by putting headline. Okay. So then Ms. Craig says, I'll go along with you, but I want an exclusive on your story. So she's going to do what Ms. Tree asks, but she wants an exclusive on the story, right? That's the deal.
Yeah, stinking journalist.
Yep.
He's a filthy newspaper reporter. So Ms. Tree goes home, and she also has a son, but it's not really her son. It's the son of Mike Tree, her dead husband. He had a son with his first wife, and
Right.
Mike Jr. So she's taking care of Mike Jr. here. He looks like a teenager, I would say, or 12 or 13, something like that. And but she comes home and she hires a guy to protect him because while all this is going on, her husband, he was murdered by a mafia family, and she thinks they're out to get her now. So she hires this guy to watch over the kid while she's out working. You know, he's
Right.
Her muscle at home to take care of the kid. So she's talking to him, and then she checks in on the kid, and then we flash back, and she's talking about some of the murders what the slasher did, and another newspaper guy got whacked.
Right.
So then she takes a bath, Michael.
Right.
She's taking a bath. She's thinking about, what did I miss? What did I miss?
Right.
She's going over her head. Because Ms. Tree was also involved in this party back in the day, but she was an underclassman. She was just there, but she didn't know what happened, I guess.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But she goes, hey, thinking back, I remembered that there was some beer there, and some kids from the junior college brought beer. Mm-hmm. And that made it snap in her head. Ooh, I remember something. So she gets her high school yearbook out, and she starts looking at the profiles of all the people involved in this case. And I like these high school photos that he drew. These are pretty awesome. And the descriptions of everybody.
Now, I did not read these. Did you?
Oh, yeah, they're great. Like Betty Lou Townsend. Ready Betty was her nickname. She was 5'5". This senior gal's favorites include Mr. Beatty. I'm guessing Warren Beatty, not Terry Beatty. Navy Blue, and the Carpenters. Those are her three. Warren Beatty, Navy Blue, and the Carpenters. Her pet peeve is being stood up on dates.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. But they all have little things like that, and they're all pretty awesome. Including Jennifer Craig is in here. Jenny.
Yes.
Blue-eyed senior chick tells us her favorites are the color burgundy, the Beatles, and bowling.
There you go.
There's other stuff. And then Sidney Hargis is here as well. Harge. And he was the news reporter. He was stabbed by this slasher serial killer lady. So he's been dead. So she's looking through the yearbook. And then she calls her buddy at the police department to talk to him about some stuff. And what does she ask him there, Michael?
She says, "Oh yeah, do you have files on the slasher's victims, including the 2 copycat kills?" So obviously, I missed all this. Did you read the whole story?
I did not read the whole story, but I fully intend to read every issue of Ms. Tree.
Okay.
But the copycat, like we mentioned, those 2 killers. She thinks that they were copycat killers by the mob because one of the people that were dead was a mob person. And then the person who attacked her last issue, she thinks they dressed up like the slasher just to try and, put blame that way.
Sure.
So she thinks there's a copycat killer going around taking care of the mob's business, blaming it on the slasher. Yeah.
So she asked this cop to look up some random facts she'd like him to check. And so then he looks them up and he's like, hey, you're right. Carbone did attend Westwood Community College in 70 and 71. Does that mean
Carbone
anything?
was one of the guys who was murdered.
Right.
Victims of the copycat, yeah.
Right. And she's like, interesting. And then she hangs up.
Yeah, now this, Michael, when I read this, at the time I was reading this book, I did not know her first name was Michael.
Yeah, I was confused the first time,
I was very confused.
Yeah.
Because she says, I'm not sure. We'll talk tomorrow, Rafe. And you hear him screaming on the phone, Michael, I thought, wait, is his real name Michael? And she's like digging, calling him Rafe? Or what's going on?
Right. Even when she first saw like Mike Jr., I was like, Mike Jr.? And then he was my late husband, Mike's son. And there's just too many Mikes, right?
So her name is Michael. So just know that going in and you won't be confused. But yeah, she hangs up on him. So the key detail here is that the one guy who she thought was a mob killing, he actually went to that junior college. So he was probably at that gang rape as well. See how it all comes together now? So, all right.
Right.
So now she calls up the 2 guys who Jenny Craig thought were going to be the next 2 victims, and she gets them to meet her at a diner because she's trying to warn them. And that's
Right.
what this scene is. So go ahead, Mike.
Right. So yeah, so she meets them, and it's now I should point out, and I'm not going to spoil which movie, but this plot is remarkably similar to a huge movie that came out in 2020 that was nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
Yeah. I
Well,
don't want to say. Should
Go
I say
ahead
what
and say
it is?
because I don't know what you're talking
spoil
about.
it. It'll spoil it for you, but it's Promising Young Woman.
Never heard. Oh, all right, I have heard of that.
Yeah.
But so that involves like a gang rape situation?
Yes, that's all I'm going to say, but it's remarkably similar. There's no private investigator, but it's a similar premise. Yes.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, so here she is. She's in this diner and she's basically meeting these two guys who were part of the gang rape.
Yes.
And she thinks, well, they're going to be the next victims. She thinks, right? So.
You have the slasher.
Yep. And so she basically says, she's like, they're like, well, what's this about? And she says, it's apparently about the aftermath of a gangbang, if you'll pardon my crudity.
Yeah,
Crudity?
Yeah.
Crudity, okay. I reminded the two men of that night on the beach long ago. And again, we see just a shot of the two guys. One guy's kind of like pulling his pants up, but that's all we see. And then we see like, no, no, no in the background, like dialogue. And then the guy's like correcting her. He's like, "Oh, you think that Betty Lou is taking revenge on all of us?" And then she says, "Well, her or someone else." And she says, "How do you explain the slasher's victims having been party to the rape?" And then the other guy says, "Rape? Are you kidding? I'm not proud of that drunken escapade, but nobody raped Betty Lou. She went for that stuff." And then Ms. Tree says, "You're disgusting." Then the other guy says, "Maybe he is, but he has a point. She wasn't raped. She went along with it." So we have a little twist here, right?
Yeah.
So, and then he makes a good point. He says, "Who says all the slasher's victims were part of that party? It was dark. I don't even know myself who all was there." So then Ms. Tree says, "Well, Betty Lou would know. I would strongly suggest you both leave town." Again, because they're going to be the next victims. So then they walk outside. And as they're going to the parking lot, all of a sudden, we see a woman kind of like in the foreground hiding behind a wall. And then a knife comes out, and then it says, "To be concluded this issue." So that's like the cliffhanger, right?
Yeah, so now we go to the letters page called SWAC.
Yep.
And I think it stands for Sealed with a Kiss. SWAC.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I did not read the letters page, but I hear tell they are very, it's like a 2-page thing here. And they get very detailed with their responses and everything. Like they really
That's good.
had a nice letters page. Then we get a Mike Mist Minute Mystery. And I guess this was something that was a gimmick back in the old like pulp magazines or something, to be these brief little mysteries. And so they kept the tradition going here with Mike Mist, the character also created by Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty. And yeah, it's just a 1-page, 6-panel mystery.
That's cool. I didn't read it. Is it good?
Well, yeah, they're all little, simple little things. They all have to go with like something where a character lies about something, and if you're paying attention, you can tell what he lied about, and then that guy's the killer. So in this instance, they find a guy dead in the office, and if you look at the art, Michael, that's clearly James Bond there. What's that guy's name?
Yeah, Roger Moore.
Yeah, Roger Moore. So they set him up like he lied about something. So then they have the solution is written at the top, but it's printed upside down. So you really have to look to read it there. So yeah, Roger Moore did the killing here. Old James Bond. But yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it's a nifty little gimmick. All right, so now Ms. Tree, Deadline, Chapter 8.
So
Jigsaw.
then, we cut back to the cliffhanger, and basically we see a blonde woman, probably the one from the cover, taking a swipe at one of the guys and kind of like slashes his shirt. And they're all kind of standing there. The other guy is in fear. We see Ms. Tree pulling a gun out of her handbag. Then she pulls the gun, and then the blonde woman starts running away. And then in her narration, she says, "I had her shaped in my sights, but I couldn't fire. Don't ask me why, I just couldn't." And so then now she can't find the woman because it looks like she's disappeared in the parking lot. She doesn't know where she is. All of a sudden, a car, starts speeding towards her, and she kind of jumps, but it does honk. And then she jumps out of the way. And then the two guys are like, "Was that her in the car? What happened?" And then Ms. Tree's like, "She almost had me, but I got a license." And then the guy comments that he's wearing leather, so it kind of protected him. And then the other guy's like, well, why didn't you just shoot her? And then in her narration, she's like, I don't know. I also didn't know why she'd honked her horn instead of just running me down, right? So then she reiterates, you guys got to get out of town. She's trying to kill you. Just leave. So then she goes home and goes to sleep, right? And she leaves a message for, is that that cop again, right? Rafe Valor?
Rafe.
Yeah,
Yep.
Rafe Valor. And then he has found out the license plate. The license plate is registered to Ms. or Mrs. Linda Withers.
Yeah, she got the license of the car that tried to run her down.
Right.
And Linda Withers is the wife of one of the guys who was murdered already.
Right. And the car was reported stolen last night. And then, of course, once again, she hangs up and he's like, Michael? So she hangs up and she drives out to the woman's house that had her car stolen. And the woman answers, and she basically, like you said, she looks like Gwen Stacy, just perfect blonde, right? So then this woman knows who she is because she thinks, Ms. Tree is like a celebrity. So Ms. Tree comes in. She offers her a drink, right? And so they start chatting it up. And this woman starts kind of callously refers to, Ms. Tree brings up the case and she's like, yes, Clyde's dramatic demise. How lovely he bled to death so slowly. Oh, because this is her ex-husband, right?
Yeah, she apparently did not like him.
Right. And yeah, so she's like, Clyde was a cheat and a louse. Good goddamn riddance, right? And so then Miss Tree says, well, you may not realize this, but we were in school together. I was Michael Friday then. And then the girl says, well, I don't remember you. So then Miss Tree's explaining about the after prom party, how they took Betty Lou Townsend to the woods. And then the blonde is like, of course I remember Betty. Of course I remember. Betty Lou was a perfect slut, perfect for Clyde. And then Miss Tree's like, okay, I believe the single slasher is somehow tied to that event, that gang rape. And then she's like, well, your car was stolen last night, right? And she says, yes, one of my cars was stolen, the one my teenage daughter uses. As for my whereabouts, I was right here chaperoning my daughter's slumber party. She's at school. You have to wait till 4 o'clock to bother her. So then Ms. Tree leaves, right?
Yeah.
And she goes home, right? And she's looking at
Betty Lou Townsend. She's trying to track down the rape victim.
Yeah. So then she finds her in basically a trailer park, right?
Yep.
And so Betty Lou answers the door, and she's a completely different picture here. She's got kind of short hair. She's a little bit overweight. She's smoking a cigarette. She's got a kid dangling off of her leg, right?
Drinking a beer.
Yeah, like drinking a beer, So she comes in and the woman's like, what? You the new welfare? And she's like, no, my name is Michael Tree. I used to be Michael Friday. We were in school together. This woman remembers her. She's like, oh, you're a private eye now, blah, blah, blah. So she invites her in, and we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, at least 4 kids in here, right?
Yeah.
And so then, again, she also offers her a beer, and she's like, no, I'm okay. And so then, this is one of my favorite drawings in the whole book. She's like, because she brings up the gang rape. And then the woman's like, yeah, they were a fun bunch. Those were the days, all right. Back then I had my figure. After 8 kids and 4 old men, hell, guess there's a few too many miles on the old bod. Fun, like that beach party don't come around too often these days. And Ms. Tree's just look of disgust is so well done, the way she's just
the whole time she's investigating this gang rape, and it really wasn't a gang rape.
Right.
Betty Lou was just having fun,
Right,
and,
right.
So she's like, now what? This whole case makes no sense. So
yep. So then we get another little clue. So then the woman's like, funny, the thing I remember most about that night is that little gal Harg. What is it, Harg or Harge?
Yeah, his last name was Hargis, so I guess Harg or
okay.
Harge.
That little gal Harg had with him. He didn't climb on and join the party, He was your typical voyeur type. Get off on making his little girlfriend watch the goings-on. She's sort of freaked. So now we cut, and now we're already in the next scene, and Ms. Tree is, hold on a sec here, I just gotta click. So now Miss Tree is at Jennifer's apartment. Wait, which one's Jennifer again?
Jennifer is the lady at the beginning, the news
right,
who's investigating everything. And in the yearbooks that Miss Tree looked at, there's also a little hint that Jen was dating Sidney Hargis, the guy who died.
Right.
And who,
right. So this is very well done. So the lights are off, and the woman says, "It's open, Miss Tree. Come in. Just leave the lights off, would you?" So then we see like a shadowy, illuminated figure of this woman sitting in the tree or in a chair, and she's holding a knife up, and she's like, "Been expecting you. Didn't expect you to be so long though. It's dark already. Afraid you'd miss my deadline." So she's like, "I didn't finish the job. I nearly did. Once you got on the scene, only a matter of time. Those last two, Thompson, Peterson, you warned them anyway, and you won't keep what you know from the police, will you?" And so Miss Tree now knows it's her. She's like, "No, I won't. They'll be interested to know that none of the killings were mob related. There was no copycatting, just the real single slasher, you, the killer Hargis, and Willie Ennis too." So then Jennifer's like, "Sid was getting too close. He'd had it figured out soon. And besides, he was the worst of them all, wasn't he?" And Miss Tree says, "The only real mob copycatting was Billy LeCage's attempt on my life. Whether that attempt had been put in motion long ago or on short notice after I'd entered into the fringes of the single slasher case, I may never know." So that's obviously in previous issues.
That was the guy who tried to tackle her in the swimming pool and kill her last.
Right. Okay. So then she says to Jennifer, "You tried to throw me off the track by stealing Linda Wither's car last night." And then she says, "Well, I tried to buy some time." And then Miss Tree says, "You had two chances to kill me and you didn't. Why not?" And then she says, "For the same reason you didn't kill me when you had the chance. We're alike, you and I. I'm a mirror, Miss Tree." And so then now, I'll go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say those panels, they split the phases, so you see the left side or the right side of Miss Tree's face and the left side of her face.
Yep.
And so it looks like one face because they're the same. Because Miss Tree's been going on her own little quest for revenge ever since issue 1 about getting the guys who killed her husband, you know?
Right. So then Miss Tree's like, "Betty Lou Townsend wasn't traumatized by that after-prom gangbang, but you were, Jennifer. You were made to watch by Hargis, weren't you?" And then she says, "We made love earlier. I was a virgin. It should have been special, but Harg, was it Harg?"
Yeah, I don't know. We'll go with Harg.
Okay. "Harg hurt me, laughed at my pain." And then she says, "Only someone who'd have been an observer could have known who all the boys were. I'm not sure even Betty Lou knew who they all were." And then she's like, "Well, you figured it out. Put all the jigsaw pieces together. I stole the yearbooks from Hargis's apartment. Didn't want you to see that community college yearbook." And then she's like, "I have the files you're after. Hargis Murata files. You'll find them in my desk."
Yeah,
and
that's the name of the mafia family, the Murata.
Ah, right. Okay. And then she says, "You'll find them in my desk. And you can turn the lights on now." And then her hand drops the knife, the lights go on, and we see that she's slit her wrists, and there's a big pool of blood underneath the chair there.
Yeah. In the panel where she drops the knife, it's all red as well.
Right.
So it's really done. Nice. And that's it. That's the end. So the news reporter who was sitting on the story, there's a reason she was sitting on the story, because she didn't want anyone to solve it. And she was, she's the one who was the killer all along. How about that?
Yeah.
So, pretty good, Michael.
That is pretty damn good.
Dude, I can't tell you how much I love Ms. Tree. I am way into Ms. Tree right now. I'll tell you that.
I agree.
So, all right. So the rating here, Max Allan Collins, he's obviously very good. This was back, he was about 35, 36 or so he's still making his way in the world. There's a couple minor little itty-bitty things that have changed, but otherwise I think it's very well done.
This is just, I must comment to the listeners out there, we should also point out this is not Marvel, this is not DC, this is independent, it's creator-owned. This is...
I guess the other storylines, like there's storylines she goes after a pedophile, there's stuff about abortion clinics, there's like hard topics here being discussed in Ms. Tree. Yeah,
and I love me some Champions and I love me some X Factor, but this is one of those comics that I would absolutely pick up every issue of. Like, this is good stuff.
Yeah, it's very well written, and the art here, Terry Beatty, again, like I read issue 1, and this is issue 13, and you can tell his art is getting better and better as he goes. And
Okay.
but it's a very simple style, very smooth and clean. The storytelling is rock solid. I think there's never any confusion about what's happening. Now, clearly, the figures seem like a lot of stiff. Some of the faces, like Ms. Tree, looks wonky sometimes at her face, like her eyes are misproportioned. And everything. But it's just at some point they're not flaws if it's a style. You know what I'm saying? So if you're consistent.
Yeah.
As long as you're consistent with it, then it becomes a style. So I actually really like it. I think the art fits the book perfectly. And I can't say enough about the coloring here. I was over the moon for the red, white, and black. Big fan. So,
Well, it's also it's what's frustrating is that, you know, because they were supposed to make a TV show and they didn't. In this day and age, no one except you and I and other comic book fans is ever going to hear about Ms. Tree. You know?
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I picked this, because I meant to pick it a while back and I forgot about it. And then I was like, we need to get back. And then I was even happier when it turned out to be good.
Right.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I must say I agree. And it's funny because I remember being a kid and going to like not a typical newsstand, but like maybe like a hobby shop and seeing like weird comics like Puma Blues.
I don't even know what that is.
That's by Artwork Vanheim. If you look through, you can see in one of their ads, I think it's in this book, they list all of the other books they publish, or maybe it's in the Normal Man, but one of them is Puma Blues, and I remember seeing Puma Blues on like the shelf and just, you know, as a 12-year-old going, oh, that's just one of those pretentious comics that no one actually likes, but who knows, maybe it was good, right?
Yeah.
I'll never
yeah,
know.
We should investigate these more, these little small books,
Yep.
these independent books.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I really like this a lot, and I fully intend to go back and read all the Ms. Trees.
Awesome. And you fully intend to read Max Allan Collins' Batman run?
Probably not. But
Okay.
I did read one Ms. Tree, and then I was going to read more, but I had to read 3 Spider-Man books for some other show.
Sucker!
But I do like Ms. Tree a lot. Listen, I'm just going to do it, Michael. This might seem strong or it might seem bold. I'm giving this a 10 out of 10 because this is what I think comic book this ilk should be. I love detectives. I love mysteries. I write mysteries. I write about detectives. This is just right up my alley. The art here, the coloring, it blew my mind how awesome it was. The writing is rock solid. The art, you know, a little flat, a little stiff, but it's smooth and it's nice style. This is perfect. I'm a big fan of Ms. Tree. Just the concept of Ms. Tree, who she is, what she stood for, 10 out of 10 for me.
Well, I'm going to go not as high. I'm going to give it about an 8.5. I do think the story is definitely one of the best we've ever reviewed on the show, but it's not perfect. So it could
I
be
agree.
a
There's a couple little things I would have tweaked. But still, just my overall love for Ms. Tree, 10 out of 10.
Sure. Now, as far as the art, I do like the art, but you know, because of the way he draws, it reminds me a little bit of Dave Gibbons on Watchmen.
I can see that.
And,
I can see that.
If you can imagine someone like Dave Gibbons who's a little bit more creative and more designy, I mean, this is a good comic, but if the art was a little bit better, it'd be an even better comic, you know?
Yeah, it's fair. But again, he's a young guy coming up, you know, at this point. So, like, if you look at his stuff now, it's like if you look at those Phantom comic strips, and I looked at some of those Rex MD, like, they're still the same style, but it's more professional. You know what I mean? Like, it's more. Yeah. There's less of that wonkiness to it. But, yeah. Big fan.
There you go.
Yeah. So Ms. Tree, go check it out.
Awesome.
Aardvark, Vanheim, Renegade Press, even DC. Yeah, you can track them down from the DC.
There you go. Yeah. See, Detective Comics.
This is one of my favorite books we've ever done on here.
Yeah, I would put it in the top 5 for sure.
One of the best covers. Everything around it's great. So yeah. So there it is, Ms. Tree.
Well, I wish I could follow it up.
Oh, no. Well, usually, Michael, you're very confident in your selections.
Well, so I'm going to go... See, I mean, hey, I could do another Max Allan Collins book, but next week's book has already been chosen, and I'm going to go in the completely opposite direction. First of all, because it's such a special episode, we got to have the returning guest for his 14th appearance. Kevin Jank is back.
Kevin Jank.
Yes. And the reason he's back is because we're going to review Masters of the Universe DC
We already
edition.
did Masters of the Universe.
No, we did Marvel. We're gonna do DC next week.
Oh, good
Completely
Lord.
different comic. Yeah.
We just did this like back in January.
No, that was the Marvel version though. This is a totally different thing. You'll
God.
see. There you go. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get another 10 out of 10 out of you next week.
From
but
Miss
we'll wait and
Tree
see.
to
We'll
Masters
wait and
of-
see. Yeah.
Oh, come on, Michael. We
go.
just did this.
Good follow up. Good follow up. All right. Hey, I was originally going to do it the very week after, but Kevin Jank convinced me not to. But anyway, wanted to give you a little break on He-Man. Okay, so there you go. Another episode of Flea Market Fantasy wraps up. You can hear every episode at www.comicbooksyndicate.com. You can also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, well maybe not Twitter, Facebook, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Each week we review a different Bronze Age comic. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. So until next Tuesday, disperse!